Our team is getting going on the submittal of assays to the laboratory. We expect to be releasing those in early 2026, first quarter.
Since the commencement of our 50,000 meter drill program, we've drilled 22 holes totaling 3,760 meters. From this meterage, we've sent 4 trucks and 15 crates to the lab, comprising 2,160 samples to be assayed.
Hi, I'm Greg Matheson, the Vice President of Exploration for Pyro Gold Corp. And today we're just kind of reviewing the initial results of drilling at the Treasure Island project here in central Newfoundland. Today we're releasing the first 8 drill holes that were submitted to the lab just before the end of 2025. 6 of the 8 holes were drilled at the Moosehead target, and specifically targeting the eastern and western trends, where we looked at expanding the known mineralization. So we wanted to get outside what was known there, and at least 5 of the 6 have intersected high-grade gold. We're talking high-grade gold upwards of 50 grams per ton. We are learning a lot about the Moosehead as we're conducting this drilling. One of the things that's been identified early on here is we're seeing multiple phases of these veins. And so the vein array itself is 3 to 5 meters, but within that we're seeing individual stylolytic veins, and those tend to carry the bulk of the gold content. So as we're laying out samples across the several meters of vein array and fault structure that sits here, much of the gold is still contained within that stylolytic phase. And it's important for us to understand that, because as we continue to refine the geologic model, our 3D models, we want to make sure that we isolate those vein structures as the real key components of the high grade. The real key takeaway from the eastern and western trend drilling results being taken out today is that we've really confirmed the high grade nature of these vein structures, and this is all expansionary drilling, so we're adding to the scale of both of these vein structures. So in addition to the 6 holes that we released today from the Moosehead prospect, one of our early goals in the drilling program that we initiated in late 2025 was to actually start looking for additional mineralized structures closer to the Moosehead. We recognize that the best opportunities for us to make impacts to the scale of mineralization here at the project is to start looking for shallow mineralization, stuff that's outside of the known Moosehead trends in the Moosehead corridor. So about 500 meters to 1,000 meters to the southwest, we drilled our first regional, what we call a regional geophysical hole, which was targeting disruptions in the magnetics. So PGC 25006 was the very first of these holes, and what's happened now is we saw considerable amounts of arsenopyrite, pyrite mineralization that was predominantly within a mafic dike, but adjacent to a mafic dike, and that was also carrying a fair bit of albite alteration. So it was promising when we initially drilled it, and now we've got the assay results. And so across almost a 75 meter downhole interval, we've had multiple intersections of gold. We had assays up to 4.2 grams per ton, which starts to bring us into the realm of high grade. And so when we look at something like that, we now see that there is a lot more potential outside of the Moosehead, outside of that part of the project. We're going to continue to actually follow up on drill hole number 6. One of the other takeaways from today's release of results is actually that we're looking at the upper part of the Moosehead structure. So we're still above like 100 meters vertical, and for orogenic systems, that's very shallow. We understand that one of the best opportunities to expand mineralization at the project is to start looking deeper at the Moosehead structure itself. However, we also recognize that there's a cost-benefit analysis here to looking deeper, that each drill hole you drill past, several hundred meters, you can drill shallow drill holes much easier. And that's why we've been looking more regionally. We're looking at these geophysical targets. The other aspect to point out is that as we've now entered into the Moosehead, we have upwards of 650 holes drilled at the project, and we've inherited some legacy three-dimensional models, but they're not refined to the point that we want to utilize those in targeting deeper in the structures. Right now, the team's actively working to remodel in great detail the Moosehead structures, and we're starting to understand that there's a disconnect between the two faults that are at the project, the eastern and western faults, and the actual veins. And so we want to know for certain what that vein to fault interaction looks like before we start expending considerable funds here to target these structures at greater depth. And so in the interim, or certainly while we're pursuing those very detailed three-dimensional models, we want to be looking for more structures. And this project, I know we've really only looked at the immediate area around Moosehead, but we've got 50 to 60 kilometers of strike length in the northern part of the Treasure Island project, with basically the same geologic environment as what Moosehead sits in. So you're in the Botwood Basin, and you've got the same compressional and extensional regimes that were present throughout the project. And so we look at targets like the Stony Lake target, and we've just received our permits here in the last couple weeks, and the team's working on plans to bring drills down in that area as well. So that all becomes accretive to what we see as the Moosehead. Certainly the kind of cornerstone today of the project, but we really want to find additional shallow mineralized bodies that we can expand and really start to build out the critical mass of mineralization at the project. One of the other great opportunities we have at Moosehead specifically right now is that the shallow drilling is not completed, that we have lots more evidence that there could be additional linkage structures between the two eastern and western trends. We evidenced that in a release last week where we had mentioned the intersection of a new vein that is a linkage structure between those two in drill hole 28. But we also see that there's big gaps in the drilling. So there's a roughly 300-meter gap that connects the south zone and the western trend. With almost certainty, we can see that that is the same structure. And so one of the objectives here in the near term, in the next month, is to actually conduct basically a grid through that portion of the structure. And we do anticipate that we'll find some additional mineralization. The big picture here at the Treasure Island project is that we're taking our kind of cornerstone, developed asset, which is the Moosehead, and we're using that as, I guess, the cornerstone of the project, but we want to be out there looking for additional new zones. We fully understand and fully expect that Moosehead isn't the only high-grade structure that's sitting within this project that stretches upwards of 90 plus kilometers along the Valentine Fault. And so whether that be down at Crippleback Lake, or whether that be at Stony Lake, or in the other parts of the project, there's still tremendous potential here for us to develop new mineralized bodies at Treasure Island.